Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Saturday Sanga. All of you in different parts of the planet. And thank you for coming. And I see we have two translators, Kavi Chandra and Daityesha. You're also translating? Yes, he's also translating. Okay. Very good. So I think we'll do as usual. We will sing Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song of Saranagati. This is Goptritve Varanam, song number 2. We'll go through it a little bit. And something a little different. I have one poem from my godbrother Kalakanta Prabhu, Glorification of Srila Prabhupada, which he has a whole book of poems of glorifying Prabhupada, but we can read one of them. And then I think we have some show and tell. We were hoping to have Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj, but message is that he is otherwise engaged today. So we'll excuse him this time. Yeah, and then we can continue with our discussion of the Dhama. And for that, we can read something continuing from the Navavraja Mahima. And I thought we can take a little something also from Mathura Mandala Parikrama, part of Sri Narahari Chakravarti Thakur's Bhakti Ratnakara. So in this way, we can remove ourselves from our various this worldly locations and enter into the transcendent realm of Sri Vrindavan Dham. This time I've put the other harmonium here. Works better than the one we usually use. Okay, song number 2. Dārā-putra-nija-deho-kut umba-pālane. Translation. Within my heart, I have always been anxious for the maintenance of my wife and children, my own body and relatives. How will I earn money? How will I obtain fame? How will I arrange the marriages of my sons and daughters? Now, through self-surrender, I have been purged of all anxiety. O Lord, surely you will provide for the maintenance of your household. Surely you will preserve me, knowing me to be your own servant. O Lord, in your devotional service, I feel great happiness. All events take place by your will, O Lord. The deluded soul of this world declares, I am the doer. But this is pure folly. If you do not act first, then what is a tiny soul actually able to do? By your will, he can only desire to act. And unless you fulfill his desire, he cannot do anything. I will serve you free from all anxiety. And at home, if any good or evil should occur, it will not be my responsibility. Bhaktivinoda thus gives up his independence and engages in the exclusive service of your lotus feet with no other interest in life. Dāra-putra-nija-deho-kut umba-pālane sarvadā vyākula chinu mane. Dāra-putra-nija-deho-kut umba-pālane sarvadā vyākula chinu mane. Kemone, arjibo, artha, yaśa, kise, pābo, kanyā-putra-vivāha, kemone, sampādibo, kemone, arjibo, artha, yaśa, kise, pābo, kanyā-putra-vivāha, kemone, sampādibo. Ebe ātma-samarpane, cintā nāhi tuminir vahibe pābo, saṅsara thoma. Ebe ātma-samarpane cintā nāhi tumi nirvahibe prabhu saṅsara thoma. Tumi to palibe mor nija-dāsa jani. Tomar sevai prabhu bodha sukamani. Tumi to palibe more nija-dāsa jani. Tomara sevai prabhu bodha sukamani. Tomar icchā prabhu sabhakarja hoy. Jiva bolle kori ami seto satanoy. Tomar icchā prabhu sabhakarja hoy. Jiva bolle kori ami seto satanoy. Jiva ki korite par tumi na korile. āśā-mātra jiva kore tava icchā-phale. Jiva ki korite pare tumi na korile. āśā-mātra jiva kore tava icchā-phale. Nischintā hoya ami sevibotoma. Grihe bhālo-manda hole nāhi moradar. Nischintā hoya ami sevibotoma. Grihe bhālo-manda hole nāhi moradar. Bhaktivinoda nija-swātantrya tyajiya. Tomara charana seve akinchana hoy. Bhaktivinoda nija-swātantrya tyajiya. Tomar charan seve akinchana hoy. dārā-putra-nija-deho-kut umba-pālane. Sarvadā vyākula ami chinu mone. dārā-putra-nija-deho-kut umba-pālane. Sarvadā vyākula ami chinu mone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Arjibo, 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 Gora Haribo, Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Go Haribo. Again, the translation. Within my heart, I've always been anxious for the maintenance of my wife and children, my own body and relatives. Dārā-putra-nija-deho-kut umba-pālane. So pālana means protection. We have the word gopala and bhūpala or bhūpa, bhūpālana, protection of the earth. Bhūpala would be a king, one who protects the earth, and then Gopala is one who, of course, protects the cows. And the original Gopala is none other than Krishna. So in the protection, pālane, of Dara, wife, putra, sons, I think this can apply to sons and daughters, nija-deho, my own body, kutumba, kutumba, I think also means family, or family affairs. Sarvadā vyākula, chinu, mone. Anxiousness, vyākula. Vyākula is sort of turning upside down. The mind gets, disturbance, vyākula. And sarvadā, all very Sanskritic. We have the word in Bhagavad Gita, yada hi dharmasya. This is the correlative for time. When, so yada means whenever. The question word is kada, when, asking, when is this going to happen? And the answer, the general answer is tada, then. But sarvadā always is taking the same form. And the word chinu, I don't know. Heart, I suppose, in the heart. But then mone, in the mind, in the heart. Heart and mind are commonly the same. Kemone arjibo artha yaśa kise pābo. Kemone, how arjibo artha will I obtain wealth, artha, future tense again. Yaśa, fame. Kise pābo, how will I gain pābo? Kanyā-putra-vivāha kemone sampādibo. Vivāha, of course, means wedding, marriage. So kanyā is daughter, putra, son. Kanyā-putra-vivāha kemone sampādibo. How am I going to get these accomplished? This is always the anxiety of parents. Now, through self-surrender, I have been purged of all anxiety. Ebe, ātma-samarpane, cintā, nāhi are. Cintā, anxiety, nāhi are. No further, no more. Ātma-samarpane, in the situation of having given myself in self-surrender. Ebe, these things are not concerning me anymore. Tumi nirvahibe prabhu samsar tumar. O Lord, surely you will provide nirvahive for the maintenance of your household. Samsar here means household. And nirvahana, delivering. Tumito palibe more nija-dāsa janiya. Surely you will preserve me, palibe, you will protect me, knowing me to be your servant. So jani with the apostrophe means janiya, knowing. Nija-dāsa, your own servant, more. Tomar sevai, Prabhu, boro sukhamani. O Lord, in your devotional service, I feel great happiness. Boro means big or great. Tomar sevai, in your service, Prabhu, O Lord, I feel happiness in my mind, mani. And number 5, Tomar icchā Prabhu sab karja hoy. Your desire, in your desire, O Prabhu, O Master, sab karja hoy. Every karya, every duty, karya literally what should be done or what may be done, hoy, happens. Jiva bole, koryami, seto satanoi, koryami. We're all saying, I am the doer. Ami kori, amito kori sab. Sab samaya ami, ami kori. So the jiva, the living entity, bole, is saying, Seto satya noi, satya, truth, noi is not. That certainly is not the truth. Number 6, if you do not act first, let's see. If you do not act first, then what is a tiny soul actually able to do? Jiva ki korite pare. What can a jiva, what is he able to do? Pare, parchen, I think, able to do. Tumi na korile. This korile is, I think it's called subjunctive form. If you do not do, or in the case that you do not do, na korile. āśā-mātra jiva kore, tava icchā-phale. So āśā means hope, matra only, jiva kore, the jiva can only have a desire, a hope, and tava icchā-phale, your desire, icchā, your, here icchā is different from āśā. Icchā has more a sense of something that can be realized. And then phala, we know means fruit. So the fruit of your desire is what happens. All we can do is hope, and āśā can also have a sense of longing. I will serve you free from all anxiety. Number 7. Nischinta hoya ami sevibo tumai. So cintā meant anxiety, and now nischinta, again very Sanskritic, hoya ami, without desire, ami sevibo tomai, sevibo. Again, this future tense, I will serve you, tomai, grihe bhālo-manda hole nāhi mora dai. I will serve you free from all anxiety, and at home, grihe, in the home, if any good or evil should occur, bhālo-manda hoile, with the apostrophe hole, nāhi mora dai. It is not my responsibility. It's not up to me. And finally, Bhaktivinoda nija-swātantrya tyajya. Bhaktivinoda thus gives up his independence, swātantrya. There's paratantra and swātantra. Swātantra means independent. Of course, the Lord is the actual swātantra person. And we are paratantra, we are dependent on others. So, Bhaktivinoda says, nija-swātantrya, my own independence, tyajya, having given it up, having renounced it, tomar charana seve akinchana hoya. He engages in exclusive service of your lotus feet with no other interest. Akinchana means without ownership. I've explained so many times the word kim is the question word what, and the non-specific answer is kinchana, something, and then the prefix makes it negated, so akinchana means nothing. Sanskrit. Hoya, being one without anything, literally. Akinchana hoya. So you may have noticed by now there's some common expressions in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs. And one common principle is that he is addressing the Lord directly, which is suggesting that we can do the same thing. He's singing in Bengali, his own language, and this is also suggesting we can compose prayers, songs in our own languages, and then offer them to the Lord. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is here again expressing confidence and also relief. Says, I'm no longer in anxiety. And anxiety is, it sort of comes with the package when we get a material body, and then we expand the anxiety with our relationships with others. So he says, no more anxiety, because now I've recognized everything is yours, my family is yours, and as far as wealth goes, it'll be there or it won't be there, that's also up to you. Of course, we know Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not irresponsible. He had a very responsible position, and he took his position seriously. He longed for the time when he could give up when he could retire, and finally he was able to retire to focus on his sadhana and his preaching, which he did in wonderful ways. I wanted to call attention to the second line of verse 7 a little bit, this expression, bhālo-manda hoile. Grihe bhālo-manda hoile nāhi mora dai. So bhālo-manda may remind us of this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita dvaite badra badragyan shab manodharma e bhalo e manda e sub brahm. So I thought, actually, yes, why don't we try share screen this time? Let's see if we can do this. Share screen. And now we invite you to enter into the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And here is the verse. This is Antya-lila, chapter 4, verse 176. Dvaite badra badragyan shabmanodharma e bhalo e manda e shab brahm. In the material world, conceptions of good and bad are all mental speculations. Therefore, saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake. And I wanted to look a little at the context in which this is being said. So this is spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is speaking to Sanatana Goswami. And he's speaking to Sanatana Goswami in Jagannath Puri, and he is, Lord Chaitanya is fairly upset. He's a bit angry, but he's not angry at Sanatana Goswami. He's angry at Jagadananda Pandit. And why is he angry at Jagadananda Pandit is because Sanatana Goswami has just reported to him, well, I won't go all the way back, but he's reported to him that Jagadananda Pandit has advised Sanatana Goswami to go back to Vrindavan because Sanatana Goswami expressed his anxiety because of this skin disease condition of his body that he had. He was feeling so terrible that Lord Chaitanya would embrace him. And he's thinking what to do. And then Jagadananda says, well, why don't you just go back to Vrindavan? So Sanatana Goswami thinks, yes, I'll go back to Vrindavan. And then he tells Mahaprabhu that this is what he wants to do. And when Lord Chaitanya hears this, he's not happy. And here's some of what he says. You can read yourself that part, but he's speaking now about Sanatana Goswami. He says, actually, your body is transcendental, never material. You are thinking of it, however, in terms of a material conception. And then, even if your body were material, I still could not neglect it, for the material body should be considered neither good nor bad. And then he quotes a verse from the Bhagavatam, and I was surprised to see this is exactly what the Bengali verse is saying. And of course, what that means is that the Bengali is a translation of this verse from the 11th canto. Kim badram va dvaitasya vastunakiyat bachoritam tadanritam manasa yatam evacha. anything not conceived in relationship to Krishna should be understood to be illusion, maya. None of the illusions uttered by words or conceived in the mind are factual. Because illusion is not factual, there is no distinction between what we think is good and what we think is bad. When we speak of the absolute truth, such speculations do not apply. Prabhupada just gives the source of this verse, and then he gives a little purport to this translation in Bengali. Dvaite badra badra gyan sab manodharme bhālo-manda sabram. We read the translation. Prabhupada writes, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the absolute truth, ever existing, with different varieties of energies. When one is absorbed in the illusory energy of Krishna and cannot understand Krishna, one cannot ascertain what is good for him and what is bad. Conceptions of good and bad are all imaginations or mental speculations. When one forgets that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he wants to enjoy the material world through different plans. At that time, he distinguishes between material plans that are good and those that are bad. Actually, however, they are all false. Now, of course, a lot of questions may arise from this, but I think it's nice to remember this, what I call therapeutic non-dualism. It's there in various forms in the Gita, and here also we get this statement. So that's something to think about.
Algo en lo que pensar mientras hacemos nuestros planes.
Shouldn't make any plans. No, we have to make plans. We have to act, as we cannot avoid acting, so we cannot avoid planning. That will be there. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakura says, Nischinta hoya ami sevibo tomai, grihe bhālo-manda hoile, nāhi mordai. I will serve you free from anxiety, and at home, if any good or evil should occur, it will not be my responsibility. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now I'll stop sharing the screen. And Hare Krishna, I think.
Hare Krishna, myślę, że mamy teraz.
And who's first?
Guru Maharaj, first is Hemangi Gopi Mataji, then Anandamayi Mataji,
Okay.
then Audarya Chandrika, and then Divyambara Mataji.
Okay, it sounds like your connection, Dharma Gupta, is not the best. Okay, Hemangi Gopi, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, my obeisances, pranams to all, to you Maharaj and to all devotees. Can you hear me also? I also think that my connection is not so good as well, but can you hear me?
Right now it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, thank you. So I would like first to tell something, then I would like to share. I have something to share as well. So I'm very inspired, and I would like to thank to all devotees here who are also sharing amazing things, amazing inspiration from their life, our acharya books and whatever they are doing in their devotional service. So I also have something which inspired me a lot, so I would like to share today. So I used to hear Guru Maharaj how
Oh, now the
devotees.
quality has suddenly gone bad. I don't know if it's from being too close or too far from the microphone, but it becomes very
Something happened
distorted.
to my computer, so my computer stuck, but I switched, I borrowed from somebody, so I didn't use to this one, so I don't know what to do actually.
I think it's better if you are further back.
Back,
Away.
like this?
Yes, that seems to be better.
Okay, great. So can you hear me now?
Now it's okay.
Okay, thank you. So something inspiring, what's inspiring to me, I would like to share. I also hear you, Maharaj, how you're stressing very often, how it's very important to be connected with the spiritual family. And so,
again, it's become unclear.
I don't know. I think I'm
comes and goes.
Gopi, it's a headset you're using. The headset is losing contact. So after 1 minute, it start losing contact. So please just rotate the. Yes, now it's okay.
It's better now.
Oh, a little bit.
Because this computer is not so good, and what to do? Maybe if it's not
okay
good,
now. We can hear. It's not ideal, but it's okay.
Okay. So it's not really good. Maybe I can also postpone for the next time where I will have my laptop.
No, I think you can go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Okay, thank you. Something very inspiring, what I very often hear from you, and so is that also last time you mentioned during initiation ceremony, and also the week before, how you are welcoming devotees to the spiritual family, and how you are like welcoming them and telling how important is that to understand that we now have spiritual family, God brothers and God sisters, and also extended disciples of other gurus and Srila Prabhupada's disciples, uncles, which is very significant and very amazing. So can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's good.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you how you are telling this, and now recently I also had a really extraordinary opportunity to also experience how you are actually doing this with your God family, with how you are celebrating your God family, how you're serving them. And in that way, I found something very inspiring, which I would like to share through this share screen. So I really hope you won't mind. But recently, I had the opportunity to also participate at the academic conferences, Secret Journey, a couple of months ago. It was in June. So it was very, very inspiring to me to hear how you are glorifying Shivara Maharaj and his service and his project. And what was very inspiring there, how also these other scholars who coming from different fields and also organizer was very, very impressed. And he also started to glorify Shivara Maharaj, and he also expressed his willingness to also explore more about his life. That was really amazing. So I would like to just share 3 minutes of that conversation. I want to just share this question, which was asked to you by devotee Hrvoje Čargonja, and then your reply, and this Ian organizer also, his comments. So if you don't mind, this is like a 3 minutes.
Okay, I don't know if we can try it, but I don't know if playing video through Zoom will work, but we can try.
Thank you. So can host allow me to share screen?
Yes, you can share.
Thank you so much.
Mataji.
Thank you. Mm. Just a second to find my, okay. So here,
Just click on the share screen, the green button down there, and select the screen you want to share.
Yeah, I know. Just a second, please. I have opened this. Okay. Just I need to. I just need to find this. Okay, I will.
Yeah. Kaya and Kenneth Valpy have made the study of India their life's work.
It was not this one. Just a second, please. I need to find the proper one. I don't know it right now. Here. I have it here just to find the right one. I opened the wrong one. Just a second, please.
It's always like that.
Yes,
we have everything ready, and then
yes, I prepared. I also tried. I tried with somebody else, so I see that it really worked. But now I don't know why it's that. Maybe because this is other laptop, and I didn't used to use this one. But what to do now?
or else we come back to you.
Yes, maybe the other presenter can present, and I will try to find it.
Okay. Okay. So we'll go to our next. Who is our next present? Anandamayi.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm heard. Good. The sound is good now.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. You are telling last time about Purushottama man, and I don't know if you are telling from Padma Purana. I have the text which I received in 2001 when you were also in Vrindavan at VHE. They gave us, that was the month of Purushottama then. And I found very interesting story there about Purushottama man. At the beginning, it is like the explanation of the month. I just condensed the first part of this text, and I will read if you can hear. So the story goes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Once upon a time, thousands of the sages came together in a holy place called Naimisharanya to perform sacrifices. Great sage Suta Goswami arrived there along with his disciples. He just come from the holy place of Hastinapura, where the sages with Parikshit Maharaja heard from great sage Shukadeva Goswami the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, once long time ago, Sri Narada Muni reached Padarika Ashram, the residence of Lord Narayana. He paid obeisances to him and asked, please explain something which will help to attain self-realization and return back to Godhead. Narayana smiled and said, I will tell you about the glories of the secret Purushottama month, which is fully potent to qualify one to return back to Godhead at the end of life. This story was previously explained by Lord Shri Krishna to Yudhishthira and Pandavas when they were living in the Kamayaka forest after they lost their kingdom. Krishna said to them, "Once upon a time, an extra month came to this world. Everyone took this month to be most inauspicious, like a stool, malamasa. So it was like untouchable, rejected, blasphemed, and improper for religious activities. Therefore the month became very sad. She came to Vaikuntha to explain her sorrow to Lord Vishnu, saying she has no shelter. She said, all months have their own positions, but I don't have. I want to die, I want to die, I want to die. And she fainted at the feet of the Lord. Finding her, Garuda brought her again to speak, so she asked for protection. The Lord said, get up and come with me to Goloka, the abode of Lord Krishna. He will deliver you from all miseries. So he took her to Goloka by catching her hand. They saw from a distance the effulgence of Goloka. They watched the mind gate and met Krishna. Vishnu paid obeisances to Krishna and she also, but she was crying. Krishna asked why she is crying. She is in Goloka. Vishnu explained all and said that no one can save her from her hellish condition, only Krishna. The Lord Purushottama, Shri Krishna, said very confidential words to Lord Vishnu. I shall make this poor month just like me, in quality, fame, opulence, realization, success, and in giving benedictions to devotees. This month will be famous as Purushottama month. I will be her husband and protector, and being equal to me, she will be the master of all other months, worshipable by all. The worshipper of her will be able to burn all past sinful reactions and return back to Godhead. My Goloka is unattainable, but by observing Purushottama month, it is easily attained. Please now take her with you to Vaikuntha abode. So Krishna, after narrating the story, said to Arjuna, can you Pandavas understand the reason why you are suffering? You did not honor the presence of this month which has just recently finished. Unless you worship Purushottama month, you cannot perform pure devotional service to me. So Pandavas worshipped the coming Purushottama month and finally achieved their kingdom and good fortune. So I just will finish now because the story goes, there are many stories in this text, nice stories, but we have only 5 minutes. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So it was, so 3 years later, the Pandavas worshipped Purushottamas.
Yes, it seems like,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
And they achieved good fortune.
Yes. Okay. So if we miss one Purushottam month, we can be ready for the next one.
And we can expect something. But okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, are we ready with Hemangi Gopi? Are you ready? Or
I found something, so can Dharma Gopta Prabhu allow me to share screen?
You can share, Mataji. You can just share because it's for everyone is allowed to share. No.
Oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know that. Sorry. So here it is. So this devotee now will ask a question to Maharaj and Maharaj will reply, and then this organizer scholar will also give his comment.
Complaints have been reported because
Yeah.
No. Maybe we have to wait until you get your regular computer again.
Yes, that would be better. Just a second, I will just try with the play, but it's really, I don't know, unusual and doesn't really work. But anyway, so next time then I would like to share because it's really inspiring for everybody to see this.
Anyway, it might be this borrowed computer that's giving trouble.
Yeah, yes, because I didn't use it. It's also very old, and yeah.
It probably doesn't have much of a cache for memory cache. That's what it looks like.
Yes, something.
Okay, so let's wait. Let's try it again next time with your.
Next time I will show this.
Okay, Jai. And okay, next. Who is next?
Odaria Chandrika is next.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept
Hare
my
Krishna.
and Hare Krishna to all of you, dear devotees. So if I understand correctly, Guru Maharaj, 2 weeks ago, you asked us for ideas what kind of vows we can follow during the Kartik month. So with your blessings, I would like to share a vow that started 6 years ago, and by your mercy, Guru Maharaj, continues still today. I put it on a paper, so I will also read it, and I hope that I will not be too fast for the translators. So 6 years ago, before Kartik month started, I was so frustrated. Just a second, because I need. Sorry, Guru Maharaj. Here. So 6 years ago, before Kartik month started, I was so frustrated with. Late at night, I was finishing last 3 or 4 rounds, or after 6 rounds, I would just thinking about important things to do. And then I said, it's enough. I went to the temple, prayed for help to Panchatattva, especially to Srivas Pandit, and next day I got an idea. I shared that idea with 10 Matajis, and 5 of them agreed to follow the vow together. The idea was to chant all rounds in one go, the whole month, and at the evening write a short email report to the group about the experience. Every day, 16 rounds in one go for the whole month. It was a Kartik month, so the blessings were there and we did it. But in few weeks, Kartik month was over, so we thought, why not to continue for another month? That was a big challenge, but again, somehow we made it. Then again the next month, and again, and it became the part of our lives, our daily practice. We wrote our spiritual masters about it and got so many blessings to continue. We even named our project Club 16. And then our Guru Maharaj changed, or if I can say initiated, the 16 Club into the name Akhanda Shodasha Nama Japa Sadhana Sanga, which in short means uninterrupted 16 rounds club. We even organized once a month meet in person and share the experience of the month. Also, each month had a motto, the name, like surrender, then we wrote day 1, the next day surrender, day 2, or thank you Krishna, day 1, day 2, going deep, masuchaha, which means don't worry, thank you Krishna, dāsa nudāsa, for you Krishna, etc. We are so blessed and happy, mostly because our lives started to change. How? I would like to share a few insights from all of us as our humble servants to all of you, and maybe inspire other devotees to start something similar. So, how did chanting 16 rounds in one go change our lives? I cannot imagine my life anymore to chant 5 rounds in the morning, after lunch, and the rest before sleeping. There is no meditation in there. I cannot fall into it. Chanting like this was often just as a finish the rounds and not as a mean to build a relationship. By chanting 16 rounds in one go, one can have a meditation. You can go deeper, because when I chant in one go, sooner or later I start to realize what I'm doing, and consequently I start to listen. 16 in one go japa brings me more focus, more attention. The quality of chanting is much higher. You get so much more time, especially if you chant it in the morning. Unbelievable how much more you have. One funny thing which can happen, but fortunately very rare, is that when I was interrupted during the chanting for any reason, it happened to me that I forgot to chant until the end, because to the habit of having chanted all rounds at once, I had the feeling that I had no more obligation. Luckily, that doesn't happen often. Every area of my life became more regulated as I gradually transformed myself from automatic way of living to conscious way, since I think about where to put 2 hours of chanting in my daily schedule. Being in a group with other devotees helps a lot to stay connected to the vow, as there are other persons there and they are counting on me, so I put much more effort in it as I would do it otherwise. The same if you made a vow to climb the hill every day and you have a company. It is more likely you will make it than if you're alone. Because sometimes it's raining and you don't feel like going. But if there is someone else here who says, let's go, then you go, because that other person inspires you and you don't want to let her down. The motivation is much, much greater, and this support of the group is really something I'm very grateful for. We became best friends. My relationship with Krishna and devotees became deeper. In the beginning, my objective was to improve japa. Today, I'm just saying to Krishna, I'm serious. I want to have a relationship with you. We think much more on Krishna, read more, and have an amazing realizations. So this year will be the 6th year of trying to please Krishna with 16 in one go service. We would like to continue, so in the name of all of us, Madhyana Lila Mataji, Tara Lakshmi Mataji, Rasikarani Mataji, and myself, we humbly request for your blessings, especially now when our secret to so many devotees, and usually Krishna tests us when we speak publicly. So please bless us to continue with Akhanda Shodasha, Nama Japa, Sadhana Sanga, and to go deeper and deeper. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. So, does it ever happen that that you don't manage 16 rounds in one go? Or is it that since 6 years, all of you have managed no matter what?
Of course, it happened, Guru Maharaj. In the beginning, we were so enthusiastic. For example, if any of us chanted 12 rounds and if she was interrupted, she started again. She started over again.
Oh.
Yes. This was for the first year, but then later on we saw that it's not practical because sometimes really happened. But like I said, that when you're conscious of the next day that you have to put that 2 hours to your life, so it's rare to happen, but yeah, can happen.
And you said at the end of each month, you report to each other?
Every day, Guru Maharaj.
Every day.
This is every day, 6 years. Every day we send email to each other.
Oh, okay. Email, not WhatsApp, but email.
Email, yes. And once in a month we get together in person to share the realization, like through the whole month.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Akhanda Shodasha Nama, what was it?
Japas.
Sodasha Nama Japa Sadhana Sanga Kijai.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Yes, so maybe this is something for anyone else to try. Some of you may be afraid. You think, oh no, if I try to do that. But what you can do is try it for, 1 week and see how that goes. Try it for 1 day. See how that.
Dear Guru Maharaj, could I say my humble obeisance is just one sentence I would like to say. Here in
Okay.
there is a morning japa at 4:30. Already some devotees are into Zoom program, and then till 7 o'clock there is chanting. Like 11, 12 devotees come together, chant together, and then at 7 o'clock there is 15 minutes. Everybody say some inspiration for chanting. That's all I wanted to say. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, I think there's a few groups doing something like that. Of course, there are different time zones, so according to time zone, one might connect with that. If you want to share a link on the chat, then devotees will know where to join, or maybe you already have. Good. Okay, I think we need to move on, and is it Divyambara is sharing with us? Yes.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Everyone. Thank you, Nanda Chandrika. This is very, very nice.
Darya Chandrika.
Darya Chandrika, sorry. I was thinking, Darya, you're an excellent life coach. I think you'll make an excellent japa coach also. Just to think about it.
A japa coach.
Yeah. I think you can help a lot of devotees that way. So I just wanted to share an inspiration I've been having lately. It's something that Guru Maharaj inspired us to do, a way of reading Srila Prabhupada's books and Shastra in general. I remember years ago, you suggested that when we read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can also turn that verse into a prayer as a way to deepen our practice of prayer, but also, as you mentioned earlier, just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, to develop the practice of calling out to Krishna in person. So I just wanted to bring this back, and it's something that really inspires me. It's a way of reading Shastra, not so much as an intellectual gathering of information, but more of allowing Shastra to affect us. It's more like I don't want to say emotional reading, but it's more like really turning what we read into a personal call to Krishna. And it doesn't have to be always a request. It could just be a way of internal conversation. That's another way to offer prayers. So I have the Bhagavad Gita here, and I'll just randomly open it and see. This is also, like, for me, this is usually the message of the day from Srila Prabhupada or from whoever is speaking the verse. And sometimes it's not just the verse. I would say also I started reading the purport, and then something really resonates for me, and then I turn that into a prayer. Let's see. Okay, well, that's a heavy one for me. This is from chapter 4, verse 10. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So this is a very individual thing, but how would you turn this into a prayer, or how would I turn this into a prayer right now? I would, and this is kind of I'm thinking that way, or sometimes I'll write it down. But Krishna, I've been obsessed with attachment, fear, and anger for many, many lifetimes. But now I want to take refuge of you. Just like many people in the past have become purified by this knowledge of you, please allow me to attain transcendental love for you. So something like that. This is just like an example.
Mm.
It really inspires me to read, just to have another approach and another way of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and it becomes very personal. That's it.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. There's so many ways we can read. And I would say this, what you're suggesting is a kind of active reading by turning something into a prayer, is directing toward the Lord. So it's grammatically second person. Again, my dear Lord, you and me have a relationship, and within that context, here is what I want to share. So that's very powerful. Speaking of reading in a more devotional spirit by doing something like that, I think I may share something I heard yesterday I was speaking with Radhika Raman Prabhu, with whom I do a lot of, you can say, academic work and other things. And we were discussing, I have to prepare a course for devotee scholars, postgraduate scholars who are with our Bhaktivinoda Research Center in Mumbai, affiliated with Mumbai University. So they've asked me to prepare and deliver a course on research skills. So we were discussing about that, and I was remembering some advice that I received by one professor when I was at Oxford about writing, and I mentioned that to Radhika Raman, and then he shared something, what he remembered from the same professor, which really struck me, because you know, this is an academic professor, but he's giving advice which was quite devotional, because Radhika Raman said it was in the very early days of his work on his doctoral research. He was planning to do something on Srila Jiva Goswami's Shat-sandarbha, but he really didn't know what he wanted to do. So he went to this professor and to ask for advice, how to approach. And the professor said, don't read as if you're bringing something to what you read. Just read Jiva Goswami, allow him to speak to you. Just allow him, just receive what he is saying. And gradually you'll get some idea what you want to say. But first, let him speak. And I thought that's very nice. Okay, gosh, the time goes quickly when you're having a good time. I want to share, I think I've already shown some time ago this book, little small book of Kalakanta Prabhu called All That Lies Between, a Disciple's Appreciation of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And as I've explained, Kalakanta Prabhu has a special talent with rhyming and rhythmic poetry. He has done a lot of this poetry, taking Shastra and turning it into rhyming rhythmic English. But here is a poem of 6 verses, addressing to, and the second person addressing Srila Prabhupada. So he says, I've given a copy of this for, I don't know if Daityesha, if you received copy of this for translating. No, I think Kavi Chandra did receive.
Yes, I received from Madhajivan. Yeah, thank you.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, because you chose to carry on, today I rose before the dawn. With beads in hand, I made my way to see Lord Krishna, bow and pray. In Mayapur, this blessed place, pujaris blew the conch today and pulled the curtains to the side. 1,000 sets of Vaishnav eyes looked straight to Radha, dressed to please, and Madhav garland to his knees. 10,000 Vaishnav fingertips flew up for them as Vaishnava lips sang out the sacred Vaishnav prayers as other Vaishnavs everywhere so gladly kept the same routine as you alone had once foreseen. How many lives have been restored with praise of Sri Vrindavan's Lord? How many cries of Nitai Gaur in days to come? How many more? It's all the shadow of one man, where scriptures urge the wise to stand. You kindly take and keep command of those who serve the best they can. So this is called the shadow of one man. So he's appreciating, you can say, the moment of going to Mangalarti as being inspired by Srila Prabhupada, and how his inspiration is continuing for so many devotees. I like this 10,000 Vaishnav fingertips flew up for them as Vaishnav lips sang out the sacred Vaishnav prayers, as other Vaishnavs everywhere so gladly kept the same routine as you alone had once foreseen. So, yeah, and then he has a page of notes that explain for those who are not familiar with the tradition. He's explaining. Okay. I feel like I should also, well, that was a kind of show and tell, but if you'll allow me, I will share something more. Since, as you know, I've been writing this book, Krishna's Wonderful Form, and just this last week, I was able to finish the second draft, and I have sent it to Devamrita Swami. He is my coach. He's the one who requested me to write the book. But I've also sent it to two devotees that I kind of selected, asking them to also read the manuscript as if they are brand new devotees. Well, one of them is quite new. And then to comment, to critically comment from the perspective of a new person, because the whole purpose of the book is to help new people to understand something about our worship of Krishna, especially in the temple. So this time I've made it online so you can see, and this may help translators. This is coming near the end. I've been explaining the arati ceremony, and I say, there are various opinions. What was this to? Rabindra asked, is there any further special meaning to each of the items offered in arati? So I say, there are various opinions. Sometimes it's said that each item represents one of the cosmic elements, such as earth, represented by incense, fire, of course, represented by the lamp, water represented by the arghya offering, and so on. Here the idea is that as Krishna is the source of all the things of this world, the pujari, on behalf of all who are attending the ceremony, devotionally offers all the different elements, essential substances of this world, back to him. But there is another understanding of the items, which I find appealing. This understanding is expressed in Sanskrit prayers that the pujari may quietly recite while offering each item. So, for example, when offering the lamp, he or she can recite this verse, Svaprakasho mahateja sarvadas timirabhaha sabhahya yantara jyotir dipo yang pratigrihyatam. O Lord, please accept this lamp of great effulgence, which lights both internally and externally, revealing everything clearly and destroying darkness everywhere. And then Angela says, it's beautiful, both the Sanskrit verse and the meaning. And the Swami said, yes, and similar verses express this idea for each item, calling attention to how those who offer them are spiritually elevated by making the offerings. And then the next section, I'm explaining the 4 regular principles for new people. So good luck. So then Jake says, well, don't mind my stupid question, but does Krishna understand only Sanskrit? And the Swami smiles and says, it's not a stupid question. One might think Krishna understands only Sanskrit, since the mantras, the prayers and incantations used in worship of Krishna are generally in Sanskrit. But no, Krishna understands all languages. It's said that he even understands the languages of all the non-human animals. After all, he is their creator. But traditionally, Sanskrit has been used as the preferred language for sacred literature in India. The term Sanskrit means literally refined. It is a very rich language, and although it's rarely used for ordinary conversation, there are quite many pundits in India who communicate with each other in Sanskrit, both in writing and at learned gatherings. And then Rabindra says, true, I have an uncle who has such friends. There are Sanskrit pundits who can talk and argue all day about fine points of Sanskrit grammar. The Swami says, yes, and that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing as a young man before he began his mission to spread Krishna Bhakti. As a teacher of Sanskrit grammar, he found it difficult to keep attention on his lessons as he became increasingly absorbed in thinking of and speaking about Krishna. His biographers report that eventually his students became impatient and even impudent as Mahaprabhu would infuse the lessons with talk of Krishna. Then, one day, a student criticized him for chanting repeatedly, Gopi, Gopi, in a mood of praising Krishna's consorts, the Vrindavan cowherdesses. One thing led to another, and all his students started making so much trouble for him that he decided to retire. And then Rabindra says, as a young man, he retired? Retired is not the right word. He was only 24 years old, and he didn't just retire from his job. He decided it was time to take up the life of a renunciant, one who lives without family and with no connection to the opposite sex. He took what you could call final vows as a sannyasi, a mendicant, and left home with the intention to walk to Vrindavan. Rabindra says, from Bengal to Vrindavan, that's hundreds of miles. Angela says, now, Swami, you've made me interested in Sanskrit, but the verse you just recited has me wondering, are there special qualifications or special training needed to do all these services to Krishna in his Murti form? So of course here this is the prompt that I'm inserting in order to get to the subject of regulative principles. The Swami says, yes and no. Essentially, there is only one qualification, one prerequisite, namely devotion, bhakti. But bhakti isn't something we just decide one day, now I have devotion, now I have bhakti. Rather, we learn to cultivate bhakti. And one of the most important, if not the most important, ways to cultivate bhakti is by chanting or reciting Krishna's names, chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We've already talked about this, but it bears emphasizing. Basically, because with this mantra we address Krishna directly, we thereby connect with him in a meditative way. By connecting with him, he responds. Because Krishna is present with us, accompanying us, and because he is the embodiment of all purity, as we call out to him, he purifies us, purifies our consciousness, our awareness. As our consciousness is purified from all the unfavorable impressions and misconceptions that tend to accumulate in the course of our daily lives, our innate devotional inclination is awakened. And Angela asks, is there a certain length or period of time for doing this chanting before you can do archana activities? Swami says, we like to do mantra meditation in the early morning, a time that is especially peaceful before the world wakes up. My teacher, Srila Prabhupada, advised us to keep a standard of daily chanting. Keeping count with these beads, of which there are 108 in the rosary, or mala, as we call it, we chant at least 16 rounds times 108 of this mantra. It takes about 2 hours for most people. It doesn't all have to be in the morning, although if you follow the 16 rounds club, it should be. Some devotees will chant, say, 8 rounds in the early morning before going to work or school, then another 4 later in the day, and another 4 in the evening. Angela. And after some time, one can engage in archana, doing the services to Krishna in his murti form. The Swami says, yes, the more formal archana is learned from a teacher, usually one's guru, directly, or possibly from an experienced devotee entrusted by one's guru to teach archana. But before the more formal practices, everyone is encouraged to arrange a sanctified place, an altar in the home with pictures, photos of temple images, especially of Radha and Krishna, and of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. There is more to explain about having a home altar for bhakti practice, but before that, I should explain about what we call the regulative principles of freedom. And then Jake is always kind of joking. He says, this sounds ominous. Ominous means dark and scary. And the Swami chuckles and says, in our fast and furious modern lives, we don't like the idea of regulation, do we? But we all like the idea of freedom. All good things come at a price, and yet, quote, the best things in life are free. So those who commit seriously to bhakti yoga practice, feel willing and able to give up self-destructive habits that bind us to this dream world of selfishness and ignorance. Therefore, there are 4 kinds of anchors to self-realization from which we want to cut loose to really go for the goal. The first anchor has to do with our diet. As the saying goes, you are what you eat. We don't want to live on the flesh of other animals, and we find it quite unnecessary to do so. By avoiding meat eating, including fish and eggs, we can greatly foster our innate sense of compassion. The second anchor is also related to consumption. Bhakti practitioners avoid all kinds of intoxication altogether, as we want to maintain a completely sober awareness of the world around us and the life within us. This helps us keep sharp focus on the goal, which is to experience the highly intoxicating, in a positive sense, taste of devotional relationships with Krishna and his devotees. This practice facilitates our innate capacity for austerity, which serves well to think more of others' welfare and needs. The third anchor or habit that we give up is gambling, or what in German language is called Glücksspiel, literally playing with luck. Gambling feeds greed, and it is rooted in the hope to get something for nothing. To get something for nothing at others' expense. It also indulges an attraction to Lady Luck, the fickle embodiment of chance. Freedom from gambling tendencies allows us to hold firmly to truthfulness and thereby pursue realization of the enduring truths of who we are and who is God. And finally, those who commit themselves seriously to the practice of bhakti yoga are careful to respect sexual boundaries. What means sexual boundaries, you will surely ask. And Jake says, yes, I was going to ask. And the Swami says, we all know, perhaps intuitively, that there are right and proper restrictions for us humans with respect to sexual activity. And most people in most societies will agree more or less on these restrictions. The cultivation of bhakti is rooted in the realization of the higher taste of attraction to the all-attractive Krishna. This enables us to appreciate that the biological function of sexual activity, namely reproduction, having children, points to the necessity of responsibility, the readiness to care for and guide children toward leading fulfilling lives. So, most human societies have a formal arrangement for such commitment. We call it marriage. Many, probably most Christian devotees are married, and typically they have children whom they lovingly care for in all their needs. So the sexual boundary for married couples is to limit their sexual activity to within their marriage based on their mutual love, trust, and respect. In the bhakti tradition, there are 3 more categories of life situations called ashrams that are recognized as favorable for cultivating bhakti in all 3 of the alternatives to married life, called in Sanskrit grihastha, literally situated in a house. The sexual boundary is narrowed down altogether. Now you're going to ask, and Jake says, yes, indeed. What means narrowed down altogether? And the Swami says, well, you probably guessed it. This means complete celibacy, as is traditionally prescribed in many monastic traditions around the world. The yoga of devotion encourages young people to follow this practice for numerous reasons. Not least, it fosters mental clarity as well as physical well-being. It's also recommended for later in life, for married couples as they get older and as their children have grown up. At age 50 or so, it's good to turn one's attention as much as possible away from worldly preoccupations and toward the activities of spiritual progress. Then some men, traditionally not women, may commit themselves to what we might call final vows of dedication to the path of bhakti, what is called sannyasa in Sanskrit. You could translate it literally as full application. As I mentioned, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took this vow at a very young age. Usually one waits until one is much older. Whoops, I forgot to make a line break here. And it goes on like that from there. A little more about the ashramas. And then I speak something about the gurus. And like that. Yeah, Okay, so that was a little from, I'll stop sharing that. Yes. I hope I didn't read too fast for our translators. And I'm very much aware that for most of you, English is not your first language. So all glories to your English competence. I'm working on Polish, and one of these lifetimes, I'm going to be able to speak Polish. Oh, I shouldn't say that. That means I'll be born in Poland again. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Okay, a little bit. Okay, time is short. We're continuing now with some characteristics common to all 5 manifestations of the Dhama. And you might remember that we discussed the first of these.
Getting bored or frustrated to arrive. It's not very nice weather to drive. Yeah.
Was that someone speaking to me or us? I guess not. Okay. Yes, so that first commonality was that all of the different forms of the Dhamma one can think of as replicas of the aprakata Dhamma or Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. A replica, we can say, is a copy. And when we think of copy, we may get worried because, for example, in the art world, you may have an original painting, which is, if it's by a very famous painter, will be very valuable. And there are imitation copies of that original painting. And sometimes those might be sold as the original. Yeah, I won't go off on a tangent there, but this is one of the things in common. The second thing in common, it's the same persons, the same personalities. Of course, the Lord himself, Lord Krishna, it's the same Lord Krishna who is coming from the spiritual world to the material world. It's no less Krishna than in Goloka Vrindavan. And similarly, all of Krishna's associates who come with him. Shiva Maharaj mentions here, he quotes Srila Prabhupada, for those who may not understand this point properly, he says, Prabhupada says, if I think that, quote, I shall become Mother Yashoda, that is also Mayavada. That is also Mayavada, exactly like that, if one thinks that I shall become Krishna. Unquote. Why is it Mayavada? Because the position of Mother Yashoda is already filled. It's already taken permanently. There is and can be only one, just as there is only one Krishna. The eternal associates of the Lord are exactly that, eternal. Then there's a third feature that all of the Dhammas have in common, both manifest, unmanifest. The prominence of youth over Krishna's other ages. So Krishna's original form has a technical term, namely Nava-yovana. Yovana means youth and Nava means new, so new youth, or can also have the sense of fresh youth. And he is understood, therefore, to be the primordial, the original Cupid, or Kamadeva. And this is understood to be a form which is transcendentally superior to his form as a child or a younger boy, and therefore is more prominent. Now, I can well imagine that different devotees with different relationships to Krishna will contest this point. But I'm just quoting, so don't shoot the messenger. Yeah, so he goes on more about this non-distinction between the different dhammas. And then there are distinguishing characteristics. And he has quite some elaboration on distinguishing characteristics, which are sort of expansion of what we already talked about with the 5 different types of Dhamma. I'll go now to the last of these. I think it is the Dhammas invoked by the presence of sadhus. So this, I believe, gets into intentionally establishing a holy place, which is Shivaram Swami's particular concern with this book series. Okay, he starts this section by quoting Jiva Goswami in his commentary to the verse in Brahma Samhita, which begins, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santasadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti, which continues, Yang shyama sundaram achintya guna swarupam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So, Jiva Goswami says, although he, the Lord, stays in the realm of Goloka, Lord Krishna may nevertheless be seen by eyes anointed with the salve of love. This is described in this verse. The word achintya guna swarupa means that the Lord is seen by eyes tinged with the salve of love. Unquote. In other words, a devotee who is advanced in such a way as Jiva Goswami is describing can see Krishna and Vrindavan wherever he or she goes. And then he quotes Srila Prabhupada as saying, wherever you are in Krishna consciousness, that is Vrindavan. Wherever you are in Krishna consciousness, that is Vrindavan. Okay, so that's something to think about. Traditionally, these manifestations of the Dhamma take the form of temples, but they can also be epitomes of Vrindavan, which almost always includes temples. And this leads me to, in the next few minutes, I want to share with you something from Srila Narahari Chakravarti Thakur. This was published several years ago. By whom? Doesn't tell us who's translating. The translator is very humble. Maybe it's Bhumipati. I don't know. He doesn't give. Maybe it's in the acknowledgements. Ah. Oh, well, okay. It says Pundarika Vidyanidhi. My guess is he took some help. Doesn't matter. Mathura Mandala Parikrama. This is selected from, it's not the entire, it's part of the 5th chapter of Bhakti Ratnakara. And what's happening in this section of the Bhakti Ratnakara is telling about the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu following the first generation. It's the next generation of devotees, and so it's affirming that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is continuing. And as we know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came to Vrindavan and spent a short time there. Here, we're hearing again about Vrindavan. That was described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now we're getting again a visit to Vrindavan, and this is of Srinivas Acharya and Narottam Das Thakur, who are getting a guided tour by none other than Sri Raghava Goswami, who is living at Govardhan. And Raghava Goswami is very happy to do this service on the request of Jiva Goswami, who is also living in Vrindavan. And the link to what we just read before, that the places that devotees may see as Vrindavan and then manifest or intentionally make Vrindavan, they're likely to have temples. And so here is mentioned that Srinivas Acharya and Narottam, when they go with Raghava Pandit, where do they go first? They go to Mathura, and there they go to the Keshava temple. It's here somewhere. I'm not finding it now. Okay. There's a section of glorification of Mathura Mandala, which is quoting from Puranas, mainly Padma Purana and Skanda Purana and so on. I'll just read one of these. Padma Purana, Patalakanda says, Mathura is more glorious than the Vaikuntha Dhama of Narayana. Anyone who spends even one day in Mathura will become devoted to the lotus feet of Sri Hari. But what if I can't even spend one day in Mathura? The Adi-varaha Purana says, if anyone desires freedom from material bondage and attainment of love of God, he should glorify Mathura with his body, mind, and words. So that's something we can do. we can glorify Mathura with body, mind, and words. Now, I wanted to share a story that Raghava Pandit tells about Advaitacharya's experience in Mathura. And I like these sort of layers upon layers way of relating. So Raghava Pandit says, a wise person once told me that Advaitacharya, Advaita Goswami, stayed in Mathura during his pilgrimage because of the beauty of Mathura. And now he tells of some trouble. There was a Brahmana, described here as a worthless Brahmin, who used to speak negatively about the Vaishnavas. He was a proud scholar and a very nasty person. Once he spoke harshly about the Vaishnavas in front of Advaita Prabhu. Advaita Prabhu became furious. So furious, his lips began to tremble and his eyes grew red. He shouted at the Brahmana, "O wicked man, today you will not escape from me. I shall sever your head from your body with this chakra." And then Advaitacharya manifested 4 arms with chakra. The Brahmana saw what was happening. He threw himself down, trembling in fear. And he begged Advaitacharya, "Punish me as you like. Unfortunately, I have lost my good intelligence, and not understanding Vaishnava tattva, I have committed unlimited sins. Please be kind to me and save me from these sins." And then he began to cry helplessly. And then Advaitacharya, the 2 extra arms disappeared. Advaitacharya felt compassion for him, and he spoke in sweet words. "The sins which you have committed will send you to hell. But I will tell you what you must do now. Admit your guilt mentally. Give up all pleasures and engage yourself in Nama Sankirtana. Serve the Vaishnavas with your heart and soul, and be very cautious in your dealings with them. Engage yourself in worship according to the standards of pure devotion, and do not tell anyone what you have seen today." He's saying, because he's manifested his 4-armed form, he said, don't tell anybody that you've seen me in that form. And then he goes on to explain that this Brahman then he followed these instructions, and he would go door to door to the Vaishnavas and beg their forgiveness. The Vaishnavas, of course, would feel they would forgive him. But they were wondering, why is this man who we always knew is so horrible? How is it that suddenly he's changed? And then one of them says, I know why. It's because one Brahmin once came to Mathura, whose effulgence was as bright as the sun. Most likely, he was the Lord in a human form. He has changed the Brahmana. And then Raghava Pandit says, "O Srinivas, see how beautifully situated this place is. The glories of a bath at this half-moon-shaped section of the Yamuna are well known." And so it goes on. They're going to begin their tour of Vrindavan. And yes, we can think of this as one theme, the beauty of Vrindavan. And so we can use, I like to say, we can use our imagination to picture that beauty. And we can also picture how the Lord manifests his mercy in such a place for one even as terrible as this unnamed Brahmin. And we may remember that in order to aspire for receiving such mercy ourselves. Hare Krishna. So our time has ended for today. Thank you all so much for joining. Have a nice rest of the weekend and a nice rest of the week and Purushottama Masa. Tomorrow I have a lecture, I'm not sure what time, possibly 1 o'clock Europe time for the Munich Yatra. And next Sunday, I have a lecture for Dominican Republic. There's always a first. And this Monday, I have a meeting which you're not invited to join. I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, you could all join, but I think they wouldn't appreciate. It's a meeting of the European RGB, what is it? Regional Governing Board. Since now, well, we'll see. They might vote me as a member, they might not, but I'm being asked to be the, as I mentioned once, the Minister for Cows and Agriculture for Europe. So that's what I'm doing. This week I'm also finishing up this course on research skills and what else? Such things like that. All right, thank you all so much. I didn't check the chat, so I don't know if there were questions, but oh, we have a link here for chanting japa every day. And yeah, that's it for today. Okay.
Guru Maharaj, if I can say for tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central European Standard Time is lecture 5, not 1, but at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's good to know. I don't know if I got a link for that yet, but yeah, somewhere, somehow. Okay, thank you all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.
Hari Bo. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you.